Okay, that's on. I'm gonna hit your little button.
Okay.
I'm gonna hit my button. All right. And we're just gonna do the exact same thing again, and we'll get into it. Okay. All right, you all set?
It's all set.
Hey guys, Brian Hilliard here, author of the best-selling book Networking Like a Pro, and today we have Jeff Plucker here with us. He is the owner of Omni Business Development, and also an author in his own right on the sport of selling. So Jeff, thanks so much for stopping by the studio today.
Well, Brian, thank you for having me here.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Now I know you do a lot of work in kind of this internet marketing, digital marketing, blogging, websites, that kind of stuff. I want to kind of get into a little bit about, talk to us about the role of maybe internet marketing and digital marketing in the context of regular offline networking.
Yeah.
So let me just kind of set you up a little bit, okay? So I go, and probably listeners are here, we go to the chamber event,
Correct.
we go to the after hours, we meet 20 people.
Yeah.
We come out of there with a half a dozen, maybe even a dozen cards of people.
Yeah.
Walk us through how and what you would recommend. Like, do we, I always say maybe start with LinkedIn, maybe get a database. Walk us through so we can kind of get a feel of how we can make sense of all that, because it can be a little overwhelming for people.
Oh, yeah. First thing I want to say is get a business card scanner.
Yeah.
That's it.
Man, are you right about that?
Yeah.
What do you use, if you don't mind me asking?
ScanBiz card.
Okay. Is it on your phone
It's
or
on
what?
my phone.
Okay.
And it's simple. Just over it, takes a picture. It gives me the actual image,
Right.
as well as it takes the data and exports it into just a nice little readable format.
Gotcha.
And from there, I can actually export that into an Excel file.
Interesting.
A CSV file.
Okay, okay.
We all know in the digital age, CSV file, Excel file is, you have to have it.
Yes, you do.
So that's how if you want to do a mailing,
Okay.
you want to do a mass mailing
Right.
using any of these mailing card services.
Right, right.
They're going to ask you for an Excel database of who you want to mail it to.
Right, right.
If you want to do an email marketing, you
Right.
want to dynamically insert information,
Right.
names, all that.
That's right.
You upload email, name, right?
You're right.
Excel format.
Okay, good. Okay.
And so that's the first thing I recommend.
Gotcha.
Find
Gotcha.
one of those. Depending upon how many business cards you get, you can use the one. If you go to where you're having hundreds of business cards, you're going to want to invest in like a Neat or something like that.
Right, right. I use CardScan myself, actually.
Perfect. You like it?
I don't have a problem with it.
Perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
See, and that's the thing. And again, lots of them out there. You just have to find the one you like the best, and that fits you and your style.
Okay.
So that's the first thing we're going to do. The other thing we're going to you want to do is if you are the one putting the content out there. So you're talking about just kind of this, this regular offline marketing world, right?
Right.
We want to put trackable information on whatever piece of flyer when we're at these networking events.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
you're going to go to these, you're going to have your business card.
Okay.
Sometimes you're going to be speaking in front of them, you're going
Right.
to hand out flyers.
Right, right. Or sponsoring an event.
Sponsoring an event.
Right, right.
So you can get trackable phone numbers that tie into your Google Analytics.
Interesting.
Obviously a URL. So you can do www.brianhilliard.com/Chamber of Commerce.
Right, right, right.
And so you can start to track very easily,
Right.
And very affordable, from
Right.
free to just minimal cost.
Right.
What type of response you're getting from these events.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
Starting to tie in this offline
Yeah,
with the
that's
digital
a great idea. Okay.
Now, once we have all that, let's just say we're at this event.
Yeah.
We get, as you said, a dozen business cards,
Right.
15 business cards.
Right.
We scanned them into our biz card. First thing I would do, connect with them on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
Just
I
connect
recommend
with
that
them.
too.
Yeah, always. Second thing, send them an email.
Right.
Right? Here's one of the things too. You can set up an email template.
Okay.
If you use Microsoft Outlook, if you use, you've got a thing called Quick Parts, which you can go in and pre-write an email, and all you have to do is click it, and it automatically fills
And
it.
what was that again?
It's called Quick Parts.
Okay.
Yep.
Good one.
Google, Google emails do the same. You've got like these automatic emails. Use Microsoft Word. Write your email in Microsoft Word. You save it, right? So you have it on your desktop always. Then all you do is you take your Excel database, you dynamically insert through Outlook, and you just do a mail merge.
That's awesome.
And so you can get home and you can send them a personal email
Right.
to a dozen people
Right.
within 5 minutes.
Right.
and it looks like they're getting a personal email from
Right.
your account.
Right.
And that's huge. Just that little bit of, hey, nice to meet you. Did
Right.
you get time to talk?
Right.
Hey, let's have coffee.
Because I want to interject if I
Yeah,
can
go
make a
ahead.
point. I think one of the things is we get into this, kind of Wild West. You made that point earlier
Yeah.
when we were talking, this back and forth where everyone is so kind of transactional. I kind of talked about that in some of my other things. That just a quick little personalization, I call it, there's what is it, mass customization, I think is a term. That's not my term, I've heard it somewhere. Is if you can just put them the name, if you can just put a little bit of a hi Jack, hi John, hi Sally, you just go light years ahead of everybody.
Exactly.
And they really like that.
Yep.
Okay, good. So I'm linking in, I'm sending my email.
Yep.
Okay.
Connect with them on Facebook.
Right.
Facebook is the most used social media.
Right.
And it's a great way to build an audience.
Right, right.
So connect with them on those personal letters.
Okay.
Now, Twitter, Google Plus, those are
Right.
the other major players.
Okay, okay.
Believe it or not, Google Plus is the #1 social media engine when it comes to ranking.
Really? That sounds like a statistic. How can that be with Facebook?
Well, mainly because Google Plus is part of Google.
Okay,
Let's just leave it at that.
Right.
But Google Plus is probably also the most underutilized of all the social medias.
I would agree with that statement.
Yeah. So just it hasn't caught on yet.
Right.
But it's strong enough, and obviously it's got a huge financial support from
Right,
Google. So
right.
we find Twitter again. Depending upon your business and what you do and your
Right.
following, you do it. So we've scanned in the information
Okay.
so we have it as a digital file.
Gotcha.
We've sent them a personal email.
Gotcha.
We've connected with them on our social media.
Gotcha.
Then what we want to do is, of course, add them to our email database.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And so this way, when you send out your email newsletters,
Right.
you've got it that way.
Right.
You then, from your digital file,
Right.
you still need to send out cards.
Right.
People, they think, oh well, I don't need to send out Christmas cards or anything. I'll send them a Christmas email.
Right.
Getting a Christmas card
It's different.
is different.
Yes, it is.
And so you can send the Christmas email out, but you also, of course, small investment.
I know.
We're not talking huge amount of
I'm
money
with you.
spent here.
I'm with you.
But by doing that, you're going from what you just said, transactional
Right.
relationship.
I am totally with you.
And when you build relationships, especially in this digital age, where as we were talking about earlier, if you have something go viral, it's here today, gone tomorrow.
Right.
In this relationship stage of digital marketing, that is how you'll have long-term success, by utilizing these networking events and not wasting your time of going to these and just
One of the things I always tell people is when you do some of these things, a newsletter and stuff. See, when I started my business, I still remember this. I tell this story all the time. So when I started my business, it was a few years ago, and it was something where the internet was just kind of getting started.
Yeah.
And I remember telling people that my website was going to be the centerpiece of my marketing plan, and they didn't understand what I was saying.
Yeah.
And I was talking about newsletters, and we called them e-zines. Remember that?
Yeah.
E-zines. I've got an e-zine, and I was Mr. I got my varsity jacket on, right? Because I'm on top of this. And I remember the guy was looking at me. I still remember this. It was actually right down the road from where we're sitting here today. And I said, you really want to take a look at doing a newsletter on a regular basis, because it's going to help you stay top of mind with your constituency. And he kind of looked at me like I had three heads. And let's just say that, he may or may not be in business, and I definitely am, several years later. And I think you're getting to that point of, I always make the point that there's a stickiness factor. So if I go out and I network offline, and I meet 15 people, and I hand out cards to 10 of them, or whatever, okay? Maybe they remember me, maybe they don't, okay? But if I'm connecting and kind of like, it's almost like, it's like a Star Trek, right? Where you like the board, you kind of start latching on, maybe not that bad, but you start getting in, and you start engaging people on different levels, different mediums, different ways. That what you're doing is you're giving yourself an opportunity to stay top of mind. I think is what I'm hearing you say.
Perfect. I'll give you another way to put this. How many times does it take to close an average sales call?
I know this actually. 80% of all new sales are obtained after the 5th contact.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you connect with them on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on a personal email, an email newsletter, all of a sudden you start seeing that's what you're doing. Is you're connecting with them and you're reminding them, and then you connect with them at the networking meeting.
That's exactly right.
Your 5.
That's exactly right.
It's the same thing.
That's
same
exactly
concept.
right.
Instead of closing them on actually, hey, buy my products
Right.
or use my services.
Right there at the buffet.
Yeah, exactly. At the buffet, what
yeah.
you're doing is over the course of a week or two, you're
Right.
closing them
Right.
on, hey, I'm Brian Hilliard.
Right.
I'm a great guy.
Right.
I do great work.
Right.
Hey, let's just, that's it. I'm here for you if you need me.
And the other thing, Jeff, that I talk about is you can do that the other way too, right?
Yep.
So I meet somebody, so we talked about I meet someone in person and then we go to the digital world.
Yeah.
You can do it the other way.
Correct.
People who are digital,
Yep.
right? And you engage them on LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn.
Yep.
You engage them on LinkedIn. People ask me, well, what do you do after the fact? Part of my conversation is invite them out to a networking event.
Exactly.
If I meet you at the Chamber X
Yeah.
after hours event, and then I do all this other stuff and get you over here, right? Why wouldn't I then invite you out to the Chamber Y
Yeah.
lunch?
Exactly. And I know you and I, we originally met at a B&I meeting.
Yes, we did.
Right?
Yes, we did.
And then we connected.
Yes, we
We
did.
had some coffee.
Yes, we did.
Right? And then,
Right.
of course,
I was late.
you were late.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Don't worry about that.
No, actually, I was late the first time.
Okay.
I remember that. So, anyways, so we've both been late.
Okay, fine.
But then, of course, I invited you to the chamber
Right.
here in the North Fulton area,
Right,
right?
right,
And
right.
you're exactly right. It's connecting people,
Right.
relationship building,
Right.
and there's a ton of networking out there,
Right.
and networking does get a little bit. I think some people are almost afraid of networking
Okay.
because they think of it as like the word sells.
Right.
It's like, oh well, I'm just going out and selling myself. I'm like,
Mm.
no,
Mm.
you're not.
No.
You're not. It's not this car salesman type of mentality.
I totally
right?
agree.
It's, hey, I'm just going out and talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
you better be able to talk to people,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
And so that's how it is. It's half the time when I come to these morning networking meetings, we hardly ever talk business,
Right.
right?
Right.
You know what we talk about?
No, I don't.
Football games.
Okay, right. Auburn.
Auburn.
There you
That's
go.
right. We talk about football games.
Right.
We talk about sports. We talk
Right.
about sometimes we even get into politics and
Right,
stuff.
right.
These guys, for example, the insurance people.
Right.
One of the big topics.
Right.
Obamacare.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So
yeah.
and we'll talk about stuff like that.
Right.
Instead of actually talking about, hey, I'm Jeff. I'm with
Right.
I'm a digital marketing strategist.
Right.
And, I can do this and that, right?
Right.
Hardly ever comes into that.
Right.
It's not until we actually get out of these meetings and go and just have a one-on-one
Right.
that we kind of explain what we do.
Great point, Jeff. One of the points that I made in another context was the idea that people who start their own business, they come from a corporate structure, right? You and I have worked for corporations and stuff like that. And what happens is one of the biggest misconceptions is they think that their small business is a miniaturized version of the corporation that they left.
Yeah.
Right. I think this is a good conversation because they say that if I've spent, I can't spend $1 million,
Yeah.
but I'll spend $1,000 on advertising. I can't, have a billboard southbound on 75, so I'll go out and network.
Yeah.
I can't do this, but I will do that. And they look at it as a miniaturized version
Yeah.
of what they did at XYZ Corporation. And I think that one of the biggest misconceptions is that that's the case, and that if you really as an entrepreneur want to go forward, it is a different language.
Yeah,
It is a different world. I would go so far as to say if you want to put titles and assign titles, one is transactional, we've talked about that before,
Yeah.
and one is relational.
Yeah, I can agree.
Do you know what I mean? And I think what happens is people come in here with this transactional approach because that's all they know.
Yep.
No one told them anything. No one told me anything. I didn't sign up with my business license and get an email from the Secretary of State, I don't know if you did, that says, oh, and by the way, just keep in mind that when you start your own business, it's going to be a lot less of this wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and more about who you know.
Yeah.
I didn't get that email, okay? And right?
Got it either.
And I think what happens is people, they go to this networking and they then they say, well, Jeff, you're doing all this digital marketing and that sounds like a lot of time. I don't understand how that's going to get me business.
Yes.
100% I've got these people here. You're saying, but when do I get the business?
Yes.
You know what I mean? And what I try to tell people is it's relationally based.
Yeah, it is. And it's, we talked about earlier about, one of my clients where, we've said six
Oh yeah,
months,
right.
6 to 18 months,
Right.
you'll have a little growth.
Right.
It takes time doing a small business.
Right.
You're talking about these large businesses for a small business.
Right.
I see it a lot. networking people. They'll come to these meetings. They'll
Right.
come once,
Right.
and they don't get that transaction.
Right.
Oh, that's not going to work for me.
Right. Oh, this networking doesn't work for me.
Yeah, exactly.
It only works for 3.15 million people
Yeah.
in the United States, but for
Yeah.
me, for my business, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't work for me.
Here's a problem. I was representing a company, right?
Okay.
Doing networking for them,
Right.
just networking.
Right.
I signed over $250,000 worth of contracts.
Interesting.
Just out of networking.
Fine.
About an 18-month period.
Fine.
From those contracts, of course, renewals and stuff, that number's got over 400,000.
Good point.
But here's the deal. I never signed anyone I actually talked to in the networking event.
Right.
I signed people that they ended up introducing me to.
Right.
Of that 18 months, I didn't get my first signing until about month 7.
Interesting.
So it took 7 months for me to get that first one, and then all of a sudden, the ball started falling. So another thing too about these big businesses, small businesses, I consult with small, my business focuses on small to medium-sized businesses.
Yeah, fine. That's fine.
But
Same
I work
thing.
with other companies as a consultant for them in order on medium to larger sized businesses. And I love hearing this statement. Well, this works for so and so, so I want to do that. Oh, this works for Best Buy, they did that.
Right.
Or I read that this worked. I was reading CNN.com.
Right.
And
Because that's where all my good ideas come from.
yeah, exactly. And X company, quote unquote, multi-million-dollar
Right.
company.
BP Amico.
It did this,
Right.
and they got this result.
Right.
And I'm sitting there, it's like, look, I don't care what they did,
Right.
because here's the deal: they can blink
Right.
and get momentum.
Right.
Right. You can shut your eyes and pray,
Right.
and you're not going to get momentum.
Right.
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 You have to. It's not the same. It's
Right.
not a apples to apples comparison.
That's exactly right.
And so these people that come from that transactional side,
Right.
from that bigger business,
That's right.
like you were saying, relating back and forth,
Right.
it's not apples to apples.
That's a great point.
It's not even apples to oranges.
Right. It's actually, I call it's like Mandarin Chinese.
Yes.
I don't speak, and I don't know if you speak Mandarin.
No.
But it's like I speak a little bit of Spanish, maybe you do too, maybe you know a little French, I don't know. My wife is excellent in Spanish, by the way. But one of the things, it's 2 different languages.
Yeah.
And it's 2 different approaches. That's
Exactly.
awesome. So what I'm hearing as we kind of wrap this up a little bit, what I'm hearing is that the blog, what I'm hearing is that your newsletter,
Yep.
what I'm hearing is that when I meet these people at the after hours event, I transition them then into an area digitally,
Yep.
okay, that allows me to stay in touch with them.
Correct.
Okay, and then from there I'm building a relationship
Yep.
that allows me to get business from them.
Correct. And that's it, because as you said, getting business, the relationship side, a lot of it comes down to last touched.
That's awesome.
And so if you have them in this digital space, and
Right.
you're connecting with them on multiple avenues,
Right.
you're probably going to be the one that last touches them.
That is awesome. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. For Jeff Plucker, my name is Brian Hilliard, saying so long, take care, and thank you for your time. All right, good one.
Good one.
That was good. And that's a good conversation.
Yeah, it was.